Français. Ça serait tout en anglais. Merci. Good afternoon, everybody. Bonjour à tous. Thank you for joining us for this media availability with Interim Chief Bell. Joining us are Deputy Commissioner Chris Harkins from the OPP and the RCMP Deputy Commissioner Mike Duhem from Federal Policing. Merci de vous joindre à nous pour le point de presse du chef par intérim Steve Bell, le commissaire adjoint Chris Harkins de la PPO et le commissaire adjoint Mike Duhem de la GRC Police fédérale sont également présents. My name is Constable Param Singh, and I'll be your moderator. We will begin with remarks from the Interim Chief Bell, and then we will proceed to a 10 to 20 minutes question period. Je suis l'agent Param Singh et le modérateur pour la période de questions de 15 à 20 minutes. Nous commencerons d'abord par l'annoncé du chef par intérim. Chief.
Thanks, Param. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Bonjour à tous. My name is Steve Bell, and I'm the Interim Chief of the Ottawa Police Service. I want to thank our partners from the Ontario Provincial Police and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police for being here today. With me, I have Deputy Commissioner Chris Harkins of the OPP and Deputy Commissioner Mike Duhem of the RCMP. The Ottawa Police Service, the RCMP and the OPP, as well as numerous police agencies in Ontario and Quebec, are now here in Ottawa. We've been bolstering our resources, developing clear plans, and preparing to take action. The action is imminent. In the past few days, we've been communicating directly with the unlawful protesters. We've told them they must leave, and we have warned them the consequences of disobeying these rules. We want to end this unlawful protest peacefully and safely. We are prepared to employ lawful techniques to remove the unlawful protesters from our streets. Today, I want to speak directly to our residents and our community, specifically the residents and businesses of our downtown core. Your safety, everyone's safety, is our priority. We know that you've been through a lot, and I know that ongoing unlawful protests have caused pain and suffering to you and your loved ones. We're committed to returning your streets back to you and back to normal. We know that increased police presence within the area may be distressing. Our officers are here to help you and your community. They care about the community, and they're here to help keep you safe while we complete this operation. Overnight and into today, we've begun to harden the perimeter around the protests. We're installing fencing and other barriers throughout the area. In furtherance of our efforts to bring our city back to a state of normalcy, we've introduced a secured area. The secured area includes the area from Bronson Avenue to the Canal and from the Queensway to Parliament Hill. The secured area includes almost 100 checkpoints that will have police presence to ensure that those seeking entry to that secure area for an unlawful reason, such as joining a protest, cannot enter the downtown core. Again, I know that these are measures that our community is not used to. They will be in place only as long as necessary to remove the unlawful protests. Our officers are aware of the impact on you, and we're taking every step we can to minimize the impact on our residents and businesses while keeping out those who could do more harm to our community. We want to reassure everyone that if you live, work, or have a lawful reason to be in the area, there will be minimal impacts on your access. Once through the checkpoints, those with a lawful reason will be free to move about. Individuals may leave the secure area at any time. As we continue to increase our actions, we will be communicating them directly to the public. We have open lines of communication with our schools and other institutions in the area. To those engaged in the unlawful protest, if you want to leave under your own terms, now is the time to do it. I'm available to take questions. Thank you.
And I'll invite each media to come to the microphone and ask your question. Please, when you start your question, start with your name and the media you represent. Nous allons maintenant commencer avec les questions. On demande chacun de se présenter au microphone, de vous identifier et d'identifier le média que vous représentez. Merci.
Hello, Chief Natalie Van Roy from CTV Ottawa. Are Ottawa Police asking businesses near the red zone to stay closed for an extended period of time?
So as I indicated, thank you very much for the question. As I indicated, we've developed this secure area where people who live, work, or have lawful reasons to be there are free to come and go. We're just restricting the area from people who have come in over the past number of weeks, particularly on the weekends, as we're getting towards, to be engaged in unlawful activity. We have several officers in the area, both on foot and in vehicles, to ensure the safety and security of the neighborhoods and the areas that surround where the protest footprint is.
What measures are being considered if protesters do not comply, if they do not leave that secure area?
So we've been really clear with everyone since the very beginning. It's time to go. Your time in our city has come to an end and you must leave. We've engaged in interactions with the protesters to attempt to persuade, negotiate with them to leave the footprint of our area. We will continue to do that. But what I can tell you is we have a deliberate plan of action to take in order to make sure that our streets are turned back to our residents and our community is turned back to normal.
Hi, Elizabeth Laplante. I'm from TVA News in Montreal. When are you planning to intervene for the kids in the protest?
So thanks for the question. One of the key concerns that we've had as we've planned and looked at how we want to proceed to end this protest is the number of children that remain in there. We continue to work with our partners from the Children's Aid Society and other social services to look at the best, most safest way to have children removed from the area prior to any sort of police action. We've had members of our police service continue to engage with the protesters to identify that it is not a good place for children to be, that they should make every attempt to remove children from the area. All of our planning has been very considerate of the people that are within the demonstration zone, including the children.
Will they be the first to be removed?
As I indicated, we've worked really hard to make sure all of our plans are very deliberate around protecting children that may be in that footprint.
Mr. Bell, Mackenzie Gray with CTV National News. To be frank, it's been 21 days now, and the residents of this city have been pretty clear that the police in the city have completely bungled dealing with this protest. It's not the first time we've had a press conference here from the police saying there's a new plan to deal with it. So why should any of the residents of the city believe that this time is going to be different?
So thank you for the question. I think you just need to go outside and look at the presence we have right now. We're taking unprecedented steps through support of both federal, provincial legislation, municipal increase in fines for bylaws, as well as injunctions to bring all that together to work with our partners from the OPP and RCMP to amass a plan and amass the resources we need to actually execute that plan. As you're seeing in the occurrence that's happened, the activity that's happened with police over the last day and a half or so, you're seeing a much increased presence of officers. That is to indicate that we are at the end of this protest. We will take what action we need to deliberately, safely, lawfully end these demonstrations.
I'm happy you mentioned going outside, because if you walk down Wellington Street right now, there are two guys in a hot tub, and there's a bouncy castle across from them. Can you assure the residents of this city that this will no longer happen, and that the parties that have happened on Wellington Street for the last 3 weekends will end this week?
That's what we're here to say today. We absolutely are committed to end this unlawful demonstration. We have the plan, we have the commitment, we have the resources, and we have the amazing partnership of all policing partners to make sure that this unlawful demonstration comes to an end.
Chief Bell, thanks for taking our questions. You're talking about setting up checkpoints, making sure people have a lawful reason to be going downtown. How are these going to work? I've been seeing some reports that people are just asking, oh, why are you going down? Okay, go ahead. So what's going to be stopping protesters from just lying and saying they work downtown or they live downtown?
So as we indicated, we have over 100 checkpoints in this secure area that we've established. Officers are continuing to be informed of the lawful reasons, how they can stop and challenge people, and then looking to ensure that people are entering the area who live there, who work there, or who have a lawful reason, such as a medical appointment, to attend there. Our officers have that information and are intervening on people who are not supposed to be there, stopping them, and allowing people that should be there their lawful right to move around in those areas.
Yeah, and just on the difficulty of dealing with children in the protest, my colleagues have been speaking to some people out there right now who have kids. They're saying it's a completely safe place. They don't plan on leaving anytime soon, and encouraging other families to bring their kids out there. Just how did the police navigate the situation with Children's Aid if people aren't going to be leaving? Do the police plan on coming in and separating families?
So as I indicated earlier, we continue to work with the Children's Aid Society and our planners to make sure that the safety of any children or youth that are in that area, in the footprint of the demonstration, is utmost in our priority as we look to dismantle this demonstration.
Chief Bell, John Willing with The Citizen. Do you have a goal in terms of how many trucks you want to remove from the core daily or even by the end of this long weekend?
So we won't be establishing any goals or targets. What I can tell you is we are continuing to dialogue, discuss with protesters in there, identifying that it is time for them to go, that this is coming to an end, and that we will continue to increase our actions until ultimately everyone is gone from that area. That area is returned to the citizens of Ottawa, and we have normalcy in the downtown core.
Thank you. Have you secured heavy tow availability for the next few days?
We continue to work on our plans. We've developed all those plans, and we aren't seeing any issues with the ability to remove vehicles at this point.
Hi, Chief Bell. It's Joanne Canello from CBC News. A little bit on that same theme. You said earlier it's going to be methodical, it's going to take time. Can you give us a sense of how much time you think it will take? And, we're on to weekend number 4. Are you expecting more, the demonstrator reinforcements, as we say, to come back? Like, what do you see happening over the next little while?
So thank you for the question. What I can tell you is the deliberate steps we've taken to create the secure zone under the powers that have been granted to us under the Federal Emergencies Act are directly aligned to make sure that we don't see the numbers in the demonstration bolstered over the weekend. We have a very deliberate plan that will be methodical and will take time for us to progress through to be able to completely remove anyone from the core. So what I can tell you is this weekend will look very different than the past 3 weekends.
And for people who have kids who are coming to school here, there's a high school nearby, there's a public school, maybe offices, are you asking people not to come tomorrow? There's concerns from parents, as you can imagine.
So I can absolutely understand that. There's concerns from all pockets of our community about what's going on. We continue to work with institutions like the school boards to identify any sort of concerns that may exist within the footprint, and we'll continue to provide public safety or media advisories to all of our community to let them know what's happening, how we progress, and if we have any immediate or emerging safety concerns that people need to know about.
Hi, Chief Bell. Laura Osmond, the Canadian Press. I'm just wondering how critical the Emergencies Act powers that have been granted to you by the federal government are in terms of your plan. Is this something you would have been able to do without that legislation invoked?
So thanks. It's a great question. What I can tell you is we've seen a growing frustration within our community, within the provincial government, within the federal government, around the activities that are occurring here. We've also seen the growth in our authorities and ability to actually successfully deal with the demonstration, an unprecedented, unlawful demonstration like we're seeing downtown in our core. All of those pieces of legislation and supports we've got from different levels of government have directly and actively contributed to our ability to ultimately say we are in a position to move forward and look to end this demonstration.
Of course, downtown is not the only place that these trucks have been amassing. There are encampments all over the city. More were popping up last weekend that you had to shut down. What assurances can you give people that as you direct people away from the downtown core over the long weekend, as people are trying to flood into Ottawa, that it's not going to end up in their communities?
So I would understand the concern about that, absolutely. What I can tell you is we've had great partnership through the OPP, the RCMP, other municipal police agencies to make sure that we have amassed the number of members, officers, support functions in and around the Ottawa area to be able to make sure that we not only demobilize the demonstration that exists, but that we look at protecting ourselves against just displacing it. Our goal is to take our streets back. Our goal is to actually give the streets of Ottawa back to the community that own it and deserve it. We will continue to do that while trying to ensuring that this doesn't actually just displace to somewhere else.
Hi, Chief Bell. Frederick with Radio-Canada. So you mentioned just earlier before that you're still negotiating or speaking with people that own the heavy vehicles over there. So are you still at that point where you're trying to get them to leave on their own, or you're past that point and you know that you're going to have to intervene with force?
So we'll never be past that point. I implore anyone that's there, get in your truck. We will navigate safe passage for you to leave our city streets. We want this to end, this demonstration to end peacefully. We want people to realize that it is coming to an end and not require us to escalate in terms of how we look to deal with demobilizing it. We will never stop trying to get people to leave our streets. That's exactly what we want them to do. Just know that there's a deliberate plan, there's commitment, and there's the resourcing that we now have in place to actually finally end this. But it can be ended by all the demonstrators that sit there by getting in their vehicles and going home.
Are you negotiating or in talks at all with people that are or say that they are at the head of this convoy, organizers per se? Are you negotiating with them at all?
So as I indicated, we continue to negotiate with individuals and with people that represent different pockets within the demonstration group. It is our desire, it is in everyone's best interest, it is absolutely what we want to do, is to have this end peacefully. We want people to go home. We will talk to anyone who we need to talk to for them to go home. But the demonstrators there need to know we have commitment, we have a plan, this needs to end.
And you don't think that there's going to be a fourth weekend of big parties and celebration, just like we've seen last weekend?
I can't place any timelines on when it will ultimately culminate. I can tell you it will be a very different picture in the downtown core this weekend than it has been from the previous 3 weekends.
Hi, sir. Charles Gagnon with Le Droit newspaper. Again, talking this morning with truckers inside their truck, they're not coming out. They're not leaving. So how will you enforce whatever you need to enforce? Are you going to take them out of their trucks? How is that going to happen?
So I'm not in a position to be able to give up any of the operational issues that we've discussed. What I can tell you is we've taken into consideration many different circumstances that could exist within the footprint of the demonstration and in and around it, and we're actually planning for several different eventualities. I'll say it again. We want people to peacefully leave, but I can tell you that if they do not peacefully leave, we have plans, strategies, and tactics to be able to get them to leave.
And obviously, I don't know when you guys are going to go in or whatever, but there's still lots of people just walking on Wellington Street and all that are supporting. So what, and they're probably going to continue. What are you saying to these people if they don't want to leave either?
So our message has been pretty consistent around that. And more importantly, the message from our community and our residents has been pretty consistent around that. Do not come to our downtown core. We are tired of what's occurring there. We're sick of what's happening in our streets, so leave our area. We will continue with that message this weekend, but you're seeing an increased enforcement presence, and we won't be allowing people to come down for the unlawful activity of engaging in demonstrations.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. This concludes the media availability today. So, conclude point de presse aujourd'hui. Merci beaucoup.